Hello and welcome to this week's writing tip. Today we will be discussing the 3-act structure. So you have a story ready, whether it is a novel or a short story. 3 acts apply to all stories. You will need to make sure you include the following acts to ensure your story is structured correctly and is successful. So Act 1 should be the opening act, which consists of some sort of normality where the reader gets a glimpse of the protagonist characters going about their normal lives. Doing this has the purpose of showing the reader what the risks are and allows them to understand the protagonist's feelings and emotions throughout. You can use this part of the act to foreshadow some conflict that will happen later in the book. Also, it is important that when the conflict or dilemma is introduced, it needs some resolution to have a full wraparound of the complete story. At the same time, you should be world building, creating the scene for the reader to be able to imagine, to make the characters more relatable and to give them a sense of reality. This is very important if you're building a world outside the usual, especially when it comes to fantasy and science fiction. Remember that world building, the environment, the setting, sensory details are very important to world building around your character. You can choose whether you're telling the story from first person point of view, then we can only see what the characters see, or third person omniscient is a good choice if you want the reader to be able to see everything that is happening in the story within the world or with other characters. World building could also be done explicitly by providing an overview of the world and the landscape around your characters. The ending of Act 1 with the protagonist character leaving their normal world, as this indicates to the reader that the story is developing. So leaving a cliffhanger forces the reader to continue into Act 2 as they want to find out what happens as the conflict progresses. The reader will get to see the story's impact on the protagonist, so make sure the antagonist characters are introduced in this act as well to push the narrative of what is happening to the protagonist character. Act 2. This story should start with a false sense of progress, perhaps. The protagonist should feel like they are going to succeed undeterred. You would need to ramp up the story in this act where you can add misdirections and twists, and this is done to push the protagonist to near failure. The reader is left on the edge of their seat because they don't know what will happen to the protagonist and what will help them to succeed and resolve their conflict. The tension and suspense should be building at this stage, where the reader doesn't know yet how to solve the protagonist's dilemma or drama or conflict. Then around the middle of this act there should be some major calamity that occurs for the protagonist character on a personal level, and even if it makes them doubt themselves, because this setback should essentially motivate the protagonist character to continue their quest and adds another level or dimension to the overall storyline. Act 3. This act should start with the events that lead to the climax of some sort of resolution for the story's main conflict, where the protagonist character is doing everything they can to defeat the main antagonist character. The reader should know exactly what the protagonist will do to the antagonist and why, as this gives the reader the sense that something big is about to happen in the story, which will be the resolution. For the reader, there should be no doubt of what will happen next. The middle of this act is where the climax occurs, the ups and downs happening to the protagonist, and then this is where the resolution happens. The tension that has been building should be resolved by the end of this act, and the reader should know for sure who has won and why. And we've gone over in the past what a protagonist character and antagonist characters are. So basically, there's the format and structure of the 3 acts, and if you have included these, then your story should be a success. There are a few other structures out there, but mainly authors keep to this structure. There's a 7-step structure as well, which I've also talked about in the past. So those are brief descriptions of the 3-act structure, and I hope that has helped you this week in your writing journey. Until next time, stay safe out there, and bye for now.